Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm your host, Philip Catalfamo. We have got a great show in store for you this week. Later in the program, we'll be joined by Chino Valley High School golf coach Jerry Behm. He'll speak about the High Desert Invitational, how he teaches the sport to a new golfer, and previews their next match on April 12th. We'll then be joined by Mohave High School baseball coach Dale Bauer. He'll break down his longtime friendship with his assistant coach, changing the culture of the program, and speaks about how he teaches accountability amongst his players. And when we return from break, we'll be joined by Coconino High School softball coach Kimberly Dennis. She joins the show to speak about her standout freshman pitcher, how she teaches plate discipline, and breaks down their next games against Lee Williams and Mohave. All of that and a whole lot more coming up right here on Off the Bench. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in Northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by Coconino High School softball coach Kimberly Dennis. Coach Dennis, welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're always happy to have you, Coach. The Panthers are currently rolling 7-1 on the season at this point, 5-0 record in the region. The Panthers are currently wrapping up a series against the Mingus Union Marauders, and then we'll look towards their schedule against Lee Williams and Mohave coming up on April 12th and 13th, respectively. But, Coach, a solid season so far. How are you feeling?
Yeah, we're feeling good. We've got a lot of games still left to go, and we got to keep pushing, but we're feeling good right now.
Offensively, I mean, this team is stacked with talent. You've got your leading your leading hitter is sophomore Alyssa Faulkner. She's hitting very well. Junior Cody Lynn Watson, she's also hitting very well. Hannah Thornsley in the circle or up at the plate, she's doing well as well. In fact, Coach, just kind of looking through your lineup, it seems most of your team is batting at least over 250, even though some of them have limited at-bats, and of course the playing time is different. But I'd love to know, how do you approach plate discipline with your players? I mean, how do you teach that approach at the plate?
A lot of it is just a mindset of, yes, 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 and yes, yes, no. We're ready to hit the ball. A lot of pitchers like to start ahead. So let's be aggressive and go for it if it's your pitch, and just knowing your counts, whether it's a hitter's count or the pitcher's ahead and knowing what to expect. And, and obviously knowing what pitcher we're facing, trying to have a good scouting report on them to know what they like to go to. But regardless, we've had some girls, struggle here and there. Although, yes, we are hitting well as a team and we've been doing good for the season. But, to really rely on being in the present right now, it's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you struck out 3 times prior or even if you are 3 for 4 prior. That really, those don't matter. All that matters is right now in the current at bat.
We move now from up at the plate over to the pitching staff. I mean, in the circle, sophomore Hannah Thornsley pitching very well. But, I mean, this team is led by Caitlin So, the freshman, coming in with an under 2 ERA. She is absolutely tearing up the 4A Grand Canyon region in her first year with Coconino High School. Coach, how do these two approach the position differently, and what do they each separately offer?
They're both very competitive athletes. And honestly, they're harder on themselves than we have to be on them. And so they're very motivated to be better. Obviously, Caitlin has had more shots this year. Hannah was our go-to all the time last year. She put in that, she was definitely our workhorse. And so now she's able to do a lot of shortstop for us, which is nice. And Caitlin's doing well. She likes to move the ball and she has good speed, but she's just a very competitive athlete. Like I said, we rarely have to get on her or try to motivate her because she's harder on herself, and she expects an elite level play of herself. So that it's always nice and easy to coach those type of athletes.
It's kind of crazy, Coach. You see someone like Caitlin So who comes in and really just dominates the field in terms of pitching. I mean, looking at your roster in general, you have a fairly young team this year. You've only got a handful of seniors, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But I mean, what do you think this group can genuinely accomplish? I know you'll graduate a couple of juniors to seniors next year. Obviously, Caitlin will be back. Hannah will be back. Alyssa, a few other players. But I mean, how are you feeling about the talent that's been coming through this program, at least in the past couple seasons?
Yeah, it's great. We've got a lot of young talent that has come in the last couple of years that, it just goes to the fact of working hard in the off season. These are girls that, are playing travel ball. They rarely ever take a break. They kind of live and breathe softball. So, which is really nice, as long as there's no burnout happening. And, high school is just always different from travel ball. So it's you kind of get what you get and don't throw a fit as a coach, and make sure that they mesh together well as a team. And I think we've done, that's been our big focus this year. And it's been nice that those girls have a lot of experience at high levels at tournaments throughout the off season.
Well, I've asked this question a few times to a few different coaches throughout different programs. And obviously you're getting players coming in with certain skill levels. Some girls have played for a long time, some girls haven't. So I want to ask, when you bring in those travel ball players, a lot of players are kind of fixated on habits they've picked up during travel ball season, some good, some bad. But I want to ask, as a high school coach, I think you also coach a travel team as well, Coach, but I know you have experience in the travel ball area as well. But how do you kind of approach a travel ball player who maybe a little landlocked in their thought process because they have one coach saying one thing and you saying another? So how do you kind of work with that player to understand that you're not trying to make dramatic changes, you're just trying to make subtle adjustments?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too is when they come from their travel team. I mean, as a high school coach, you got to love that and love their experience, and you got to figure out a way to work with it. I think a lot of times it's a matter of, hey, they might be the shortstop on, or the third baseman on that team, but we need to be the shortstop here. And so it's just working with those. And a lot of it is just the personality, trying to figure out who they are as a person and being able to work through some of those differences. But honestly, they know the game really well. So it's easy to, and a lot of it is not huge changes, but hey, here's an idea. Let's try it. And it's just, I think a lot of that, how you approach it in a positive manner with them.
Again, we were speaking with Coconino High School softball coach Kimberly Dennis. Coach Dennis's program right now, 7-1 on the season, 5-0 record in the region. They are wrapping up some games against the region before they go into a really middle of the season non-conference games, which are a little strange, but this whole season's been a little weird. We've seen a lot of region teams early on than we usually wouldn't see this year, but makes for a very competitive 4A Grand Canyon region, which it is this year. I mean, incredibly competitive this year. We'll talk about it with Coach Dennis in just a few, but Coach, you got a handful of seniors on the roster this year. What can you say about their contributions to the program?
They've had great contributions. I was just talking to in our Character Matters class this past week. It's a unique class, meaning they had to go. I think this senior class got hit with the COVID, shut down quite hard because it was their sophomore year. And I really feel for softball, your sophomore year is really a year that you can really develop in the high school level, at the varsity level. And they didn't get that, and so they've worked really hard to get themselves back to that level. And show good senior leadership. And even if they're not getting a lot of playing time, their leadership off the field and has shown greatly. And they've taken it upon themselves to make sure that we're playing as a team. And it's all about Team Coconino and not individual accolades and stats.
Coach, is there an area you'd like to see this team improve in?
I just keep doing what we're doing, right? But at the same time, I'm a defensive mindset coach. So, I mean, if we can continue to look sharp there and, show that leadership when maybe we are struggling, instead of, snowballing it. So,
well, you got Caitlin So striking everyone out. So I don't know how much the defense really needs to worry too much this season. But, like I said, the Panthers playing very, very well so far. Coach, just real quick, down at the JV level, things are going very, very well as well this season. The JV team, at least for right now, undefeated on the year. I'd love to ask, how do your JV coaches help in aiding in that transition up into varsity?
It's big help. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of changeover at the JV coaching level just in the last handful of years, just due to people, it's hard to get coaches and just the time commitment with their full-time jobs. So that's kind of been hard, but we try to run the program as a program, and we're not just separate. Here's the JV team and like that Character Matters class, we all do it together, and we try to do as much as we can together. So it's a program. And so hopefully that builds every year on them. But Coach Anthony Lopez now at the JV level with his assistants, Christina and Sarah, they're doing a great job having fun with the girls and really challenge them to continue to improve and have high expectations.
So like I said, the Panthers wrapped up a sweep against region opponent Bradshaw Mountain. They will finish their next game against Mingus Union this week. We're talking to Coach Dennis just a little bit before that second game against the Mingus Union Marauders. Coach, you've seen most of the region at this point. I know you're getting ready for a series against Lee Williams and Mohave and then Flagstaff to end out the year, which I know you're very excited about. But I want to ask, what's your assessment of the region been this year?
Going into season, our coaching staff really felt that our region was one of the toughest out there and the most equalized. Yeah. As in there wasn't just one team that really stood out like, oh, they're going to win it. No doubt. You kind of look at these other regions throughout Arizona and you're like, oh, they're going to end up winning that one. And, and I think it was and it still is anybody's chance to win the region, and definitely we have to stay focused because we've put ourselves in a good spot and we just have to stay there.
Well, yeah, like I said, the Panthers, they have a series against Lee Williams and Mohave as well, April 12th and 13th, respectively. So, Coach, coming into the bottom half of the rest of the season, how are you feeling about matchups against Lee Williams and Mohave? And how are you feeling about going forward? Like I said, you guys have a matchup with Flagstaff at the end of the season, which, of course, the rivalry game is always fun to play, but Flagstaff, very feisty team. We got a chance to see them play against Mingus Union. I know you've been keeping an eye on how Flagstaff has been doing, but just in general, how are you preparing for the Lee Williams game in Mohave and then that last stretch of the season before we let you go?
We're keeping the girls focused, at the same level and continue. It doesn't matter if we're 5-0 and 7-1. I mean, it's continually trying to improve and stay at that level, but at the same time improving, because you want to be playing your best ball, right? Right. Last week of April, first, of May. So that's definitely our goal, to continue doing that and working hard, staying focused and being engaged.
So what are some of those tips that you use, Coach, to kind of keep your players focused for that last stretch of the season and try to avoid some of that burnout that may happen midway through?
We focus a lot of, this is a game, there's a lot going on in the world and it's a game, and sometimes these kids, forget that, whether it's pressure us coaches put on them or parents or whatever. And we've been focusing on, you started this game because you thought you looked cool in a uniform and you got your snacks after the game, right? So, and that was all fun. So you should continually be playing this game because it's fun and you don't want to do anything else because you're getting along with your teammates, you do anything for them, and we're going out and having fun. And so that's kind of our focus of be us, don't be anybody else, and go do our thing.
She is Coconino High School softball coach Kimberly Dennis. Coach Dennis, it is always great to speak with you. Best of luck against the rest of the schedule. I know you got the region matchups coming up here soon that we broke down, but we'll touch base again when we get either closer to or the end of state competition. I know your Panthers are going to be battling for a potential playoff spot this season, looking for that home game to start the playoffs. So I wish you nothing but the best of luck, Coach, and safe travels to and from your games.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. That's going to do it. We're going to move on to our next interview here. Thank you, Coach Kimberly Dennis. Our next guest will be Chino Valley High School golf coach Jerry Behm right here on Off the Bench. Don't go anywhere.
Two things we can count on every year.
A new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by Chino Valley High School golf coach Jerry Behm. Coach, welcome onto the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, we're very happy to have you. The Cougars season has kicked off. The spring golf season kicked off in March. The Cougars started off their season with a trip over to the Oak Creek Country Club. They also got an opportunity to participate in the Lone Tree Golf Club and a whole bunch more. So, Coach, how has the season been going so far?
Season has been going quite well for us. We've had 7 matches to date. Our 7th one was yesterday. We have won 2 of the matches. We finished second in 3 others. Our lead players are starting to really develop. Trevor Staczynski, our lone senior on the team this year, has finished as the low scorer in 4 of the 7 matches in which we've played.
Wow. So
he is really striving to requalify again this year for the state tournament in Tucson to be held in May. As of this morning, he's setting 3 spots out of qualifying.
Okay.
Which is a good trend in my mind, because now that we've had 7 matches, he's able to discard some of the matches he didn't do quite as well in and substitute them with better matches, enabling him a better chance to qualify for state.
So along with Trevor, of course, like you mentioned, Coach, he is your lone senior. Who else has really been standing out for you this year?
A new player. He's a junior, Hunter Husk, very mature young man, has excellent course management. His scores have not reflected real well this year. He is capable of a little bit more, but he's brought a maturity to the team that has really guided us.
Anyone else been really playing well for you? I mean, how about down at the JV level? Who are you looking to potentially bring up next year?
Next year, we look to bring up a young gentleman named Seth Ryan.
Okay.
We're going to try him out tomorrow for the 2nd time this year in a competitive match when we travel to Parker. In a JV qualifier yesterday, he did extremely well. For someone that is a new player, he just picked up the game this year. So he's 2 months experience into the game of golf.
Wow.
So yeah, we're excited. We're excited about his future. We have 3 other freshmen on the team this year that in the next 3 to 4 years, we should have good years with them as the foundation.
Okay. Well, that's good. Good to hear, Coach. Yeah, you talk about obviously your junior coming in, being being a newer golfer, has only got about 2 months under his belt so far. I mean, how do you approach a new golfer like that when you're trying to prepare them for the season, but also not trying to overwhelm them too early?
I let them proceed at their own pace.
Okay.
We start with the very basics, the grip, the stance. I also have assistance from a gentleman named John Gunby. He's a Class A PGA teaching pro. He's a member of the Arizona Golf Hall of Fame for his teaching and his charity work. And he was just inducted into the Southwest section of the PGA Hall of Fame for the same reasons.
Wow.
John helps the Chino Valley team. He also helps 3 other teams here in the spring out at the Antelope Hills Golf Course. And he's been quite the asset.
Obviously you get with golf very similar to a lot of sports that can be played year round. Golf is also one of the few sports that you can play for a very long time, unlike football or basketball or baseball. When the body starts to slow down, golf allows you to play for a very, very long time, along with starting at a very young age. I have a lot of friends who play golf who started when they were very young. So I want to ask, Coach, obviously you mentioned your one junior who was coming in with new experience, a new golfer. How seasoned are these kids coming into your program? Not necessarily just this year, but throughout the years. I mean, are you finding a lot of year-round golfers, or are you finding a lot of kids who are getting into the sport for the first time or returning from it from a long time, where's the skill level when these kids come into your program?
Most of the golfers that I get at Chino Valley High School, their first exposure to golf is on the Chino Valley golf team. So they come in real raw, real teachable, real coachable as well. They're not bringing in bad habits. They're not bringing in a lot of preconceived ideas. So it's a lot of fun to work with the new players. Off the top of my head, I would say of the 13 golfers I have on the team this year, 9 gentlemen, 4 ladies, only 2 of them brought in substantial golf experience prior to joining the Chino Valley golf team.
Okay.
Trevor and Hunter brought in experience. They played quite a bit with their fathers, which is beneficial. But some of the other juniors I have on the team, Ben Tenberge and Guy Bowen, they were new to golf when I got them 3 years ago. We joked that I spent the first 2 weeks reminding them which was the proper end of the club to hold.
Which is the top part, right?
It's the rubber part. You don't hold on to you can't tell them the top part, because if you invert it, then the bottom becomes the top. You tell them
that's probably why I don't coach golf.
Yes. So I'm really proud of what Ben and Guy have developed into as not only golfers, but gentlemen. A big aspect of the game of the golf is sportsmanship, etiquette, and being gentlemen in their case, or ladies in the case of the young ladies I have on the team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about obviously coming in with those varying levels of experience. I mean, have your more experienced golfers taken those less experienced golfers under their wing at all?
Yes, they have. And it's been beneficial. It helps me out a lot, takes a lot of the pressure off of me. And also the more experienced golfers remind me of things that I overlook to teach the new golfers.
Okay.
Because etiquette is a lot of it. And a lot of golf coaches I've talked to around the state say the natural presumption is that everybody knows, don't step on somebody's line, don't stand directly behind the player. And Trevor and Hunter will say, hey, coach, you forgot to cover this at practice. So it's very beneficial.
Yeah.
The gray hair shows that I forget things.
Well, but it sounds like, Coach, you got a great, not only staff, but a great group of kids this year as well. Again, we're speaking with Chino Valley High School golf coach, Jerry Behm. Again, the Cougars spring golf season has already kicked off. Their next match is April 12th. We'll talk to Coach about that in just a little bit. But like I was saying, it sounds like you've got a great group of kids coming in, Coach. I know you got a match coming up on the 7th, but we're talking to you a little bit before then. The next one's coming up on the 12th. But like I said, you got a great group of kids. And the thing with golf, of course, is obviously it's an individual result sport. You're kind of more going off of individual scores, much like swim or cross country. But there's a lot of that team aspect, like you said, those more experienced golfers coming in and helping out some of the younger golfers as well. So there's a good team aspect that you continue to have with that program, Coach.
Yes, it is a team. This AIA has 2 classifications in qualifying for the state tournament. One is as a team. The AIA takes the 7 sectional winners and the next top 8 teams to qualify as a team. And then we take the next 15 individuals not associated with a qualifying team. So we'll have 90 players on the course at one time. And there's more team aspect to it than most people imagine.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like you said, just sort of that etiquette stuff. I mean, even just like you said, having so many golfers. Obviously you're finishing out as a team, so you want golfers to play well. You're right. There are a lot more team aspects to golf that maybe I need to do a little bit more thinking about. But Coach, you mentioned the High Desert Invitational when we talked before the show. I know you wanted to talk about that. So can we talk about the High Desert Invitational, how it got started, what you guys' participation is in it, and who might you guys be golfing against in that one?
Okay. The High Desert Invitational began 9 years ago. The former athletic director at Chino Valley High School Pete Jelovic and I sat down, and we wanted to capitalize upon the fact that we were getting tremendous requests to play home matches at Antelope Hills from teams throughout the state, because at that time the state D3 championship was held at Antelope Hills, and they wanted to have practice round. And a longtime coach in Arizona, Steve Schneider, who was then at Snowflake, he has since retired, told Pete and I, you guys should start an invitational tournament. So we began it. First year did not go real well. We had 22 teams participating. First day was windy and cold, and the second day we had to cancel the remainder of the tournament because of snow.
Okay.
Which was not a pleasant experience. It has grown now. Right now, we have received entry fees for 18 teams this year. Unfortunately, we've had 4 teams drop out due to finances. Because it's an invitational, there is an entry fee, but the biggest expense for a lot of the teams is hotel rooms.
Right.
The hotel rooms in Prescott have skyrocketed. We attempted to find hotels that would work with us, and it's with the PBR in town and just the nice springtime up here in the Prescott area.
Right.
They're reluctant. Another aspect, we have been able to work with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University's U.S. Air Force ROTC program. They volunteer their time each year. We begin our tournament with the presentation of the nation's colors by their honor guard. This year, the Chino Valley High School choir will be singing the national anthem during the presentation. And the coaches throughout the state, they like to come up here because of the hospitality of the Prescott people, the tremendous treatment we received from Dawn and Justin over at Antelope Hills. They just love it. So the high school and the community take a lot of pride in this tournament. We've been able to work with the Junior Golf Association and the Arizona Golf Association with acquiring rules officials to work the tournament for us because of the number of players we have. The rules officials all volunteer their time. The day before, they'll come out and help me set up the course, make sure it's properly marked. So we're very proud at we at Chino Valley High School are very proud of what we've been able to do with the High Desert. Next year will be our 10th year, and we're already starting to planning some special stuff for it, because we really want to continue to be the event that the coaches call us in September and October and say, Jerry, Marty, are you still holding the HDI this year? Put me in, please.
Coach, can you throw out some dates for the High Desert Invitational?
Friday, April 22nd, Saturday, April 23rd. We will play the North Course at Antelope Hills on Friday the 22nd with scheduled tee time starts. We're going to do threesomes at 9-minute intervals. So we'll be running tee times from about 9:30 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon every 9 minutes. Saturday the 23rd, we are shotgunning at 8:30 in the morning. So we'll have all 120 plus golfers on the course at one time. So between about 8:15 and 9:45, my life is a hectic nightmare with all of the getting the kids out, getting the starting. The other coaches are just a tremendous asset. They help provide getting the kids to the tee boxes on time, getting them to the correct tee boxes. Where the rules officials cannot always be there, they help. So it's a whole experience based upon a lot of people cooperating to make it successful.
Well, again, the High Desert Invitational will take place April 22nd and 23rd. The Chino Valley Cougars, their next match will be on April 12th. We were speaking with Chino Valley High School golf coach Jerry Behm. Coach, thank you very much for coming on the show to talk about the program.
I appreciate it. The kids love it when they get a little bit of exposure because in this area, high school golf is often overlooked. So thank you for having me.
Anytime, Coach. We'll touch base when we get closer to the start of the state playoffs. But again, Chino Valley High School golf coach Jerry Behm. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Mohave High School baseball coach Dale Bauer right here on Off the Bench. Don't go anywhere.
Two things we can count on every year.
A new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by Mohave High School baseball coach Dale Bauer. Coach Bauer, welcome on to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been excited to get on here, man. It's been a long journey.
Well, we're always happy to have you, Coach. Coach Bauer took over the program at Mohave High School this season. Coach, let's talk about that journey from how you got the job to where you're at now.
Yeah, I was in the Navy and then transferred over to San Diego State. I was going to walk on to San Diego State. Famous college coach, San Diego State. He coached the guys like Tony Gwynn. And he called me an old man at 26. I got out of the Navy. He says, "Hey, old man." And the shortstop said to me, "I think he's talking to you." So I went in there and he said, "I can be a student coach or leave the campus. I'm not going to play much." So I was disheartened, went home, talked to my wife. I said, "I'll take the job." So I got no pay, but I got a lot of experience through Coach Diaz. I went on, spent 30 years in the fire department, 18 years as the head coach at Coronado High School in San Diego. So
what were some of those early lessons you learned as a player, Coach?
Accountability.
Okay.
At the college level, it's all about accountability. Everybody is accountable for their own errors, their own mistakes, and honing their skill. That's the big deal they teach in college, is honing their skill, So I came here with a big mess, man. I'm loaded with 9 seniors, man. You would think I'd be ready to go take a state title, but we've struggled, dude. But what was a light ahead of me was the coaching staff prior to me, and I don't know them. I told one guy to leave that I met, but they were yellers. They like to yell and scream, and my approach was totally different. The players now bought into it. They call it own it. They own it, and no other player needs to say another word, nor my coaching staff. And once they own it, they own it. Yeah. It's accountability. These kids now break every time they break the huddle. They always break it family. They say family. So I got them. I get compliments from umpires to the other day, ADs, coaches calling my AD and saying, "This is the best I've ever seen Mohave, and this is the best I've ever seen them act." They worry more about their acting. I always tell the young man that we live up here and everybody else lives down here. It's not that we're better. It's just that we need to act better.
Yeah. So
if I only touched one kid while I'm here, that's all I can do, man. So it's not about win or losses. To me, it's about getting these kids to play within themselves. So,
I think a lot of coaches try to accomplish that as well, sort of walking that line between authoritative and accountability. And I think great coaches are able to walk that line and understand that their players know that there's somebody they can go to, but at the same time, you're not really buddy with these guys, if that makes sense. So I want to ask, Coach, you've been around the game for a while. I mean, how have you been able to walk that line of somebody who goes, yes, you have to listen to me, but at the same time, I will listen to you.
Yeah. I have a little theory what I do before games, and I started it during practice a long time ago, is I never reprimand a player in front of the players. Everything's one-on-one. He gets my respect. I listen to him. He knows I have ears so he can voice his opinion. And that's between me and that other player. I don't reprimand a player in front of any other player. Zero. Before each game, I put an arm around one at a time. I walk the field with them and we discuss what we plan on doing for the day. I don't allow anybody to take that away from me. I take my 15 minutes and I do it one-on-one.
Where did you learn that trade, Coach? Is it just something that you've been experimenting with throughout the years? Is it something another coach did for you, or something you picked up along the way?
Coach Lefty Bartow from Southwestern College in San Diego. That guy was the man, dude. He was a non-screamer. He stood like 6'5". He played football, went into baseball coaching. Lefty Bartow, man. And he was a no-nonsense accountability guy, but man, his players loved him. And the way they loved him is because he was one-on-one with them. He didn't believe in 9 coaches yelling at one player. He was a one-on-one guy. So he taught me that. And man, I've been working with it. And they bought into it, man. These kids buy into it, man. And I love these guys. These guys they were off. I've had umpires come up to me and said, I've never seen Mohave act like that. I appreciate you, Coach. And I said, well, it just took a little time. I'm not parent friendly. I will tell you flat out. For other coaches out there, I don't allow a parent to talk to me. I tell them in the front of the season, these are young men, one step away from manhood.
Yeah.
Step away. Don't come to me. I don't want to hear about playing time. I don't want to care if your kid's a left-hander. Please play. I don't care. I will not listen to them. Yeah. These are young men. So.
Yeah, that's you told me the same thing when I got a chance to see you at the Mingus Mohave game. You had said, these guys out here are one step away from where you and I are, which are being in the real world, making decisions for ourselves, being adults. I think it's great that you're adding in some more of that stability within the program for accountability. Coach, how did you kind of approach the culture at Mohave, and what else have you been doing to sort of change the mentality that people may have about the Thunderbirds?
Well, the thing of it is here is they needed to do a change with their coaching staff here, not just with me, but the baseball, softball programs. Sometimes I don't have I call it I don't have a fight. I don't have a dog in the fight, I should say. That's an old saying. I don't have a dog in the fight. The worst coach I've ever met in my life is with the dad coach. He takes he'll see his son a different way than you will.
Yeah.
And I think dad coaches some are good. Some, I'm not going to put it all in one box, but I will tell you that 90% that I've met that were dad coaches were horrible to the other players. And I look at it totally like these are all my guys. These are all my kids. I mean, these are all my young men. I treat them like that. I learned that from a guy at New Mexico State. His name was Barry Thompson, and he was a stickler. He was a stickler with that, man. Yeah. So he didn't hire anybody that had a kid coming up or going out. He didn't. If you had a resume and it said my son played at New Mexico State, he wouldn't look at you.
Wow.
So yeah, I kind of learned that from him. I went on to Gaston High School in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and stayed 19 years there. And freaking loved it. Best high school. Go ahead. Best high school in the world.
Well, I would hope that now it's number 2 as you're holding on to the Mohave Thunderbird program right now. Yeah. But
love it here.
Coach, I will say your comment regarding parent coaches. My dad coached me in baseball up until I was a freshman in high school. I was very lucky that he was able to walk that line of sort of, hey, if I'm doing well, I'm doing well. But if I'm doing bad, next man up is the next man up. But I agree. I've also run into the situation of parent coaches who do see their kids as sort of the tippy top. And I think it's a culture that's slowly changing due to coaches like you who sort of understand their role within the program and don't necessarily let anybody, talk over them or step over them, especially people who don't necessarily have the same experiences as you do. But you've got a great assistant coach on your staff and Jeff Davis. I know you guys have a phenomenal history. Please tell us about the story with you and Jeff and how you both made it to Mohave.
Oh my gosh, Jeff is an amazing man. hard not choking up when I talk about Jeff, man.
He's a good dude. He's very nice. I got a chance to meet him as well at Mingus Union. And like I said, you guys are really changing the culture there, Coach. But
I was in the Navy with him. We met in boot camp, 1973, man, met in boot camp. And he's been married to the most beautiful woman for 30 some years. I've been in his life since then, since I was 18 years old. And he played low ball for the Dodgers, A ball for the Dodgers. It was such an athlete. Right now, he struggled with his health a little bit. Not anything major, but just he has really bad knees, bad shoulders. He loves to coach, but he can't get hands on. But man, his knowledge of the game and his just fortitude with these kids, they love him, man. And he's the same way, man. He sits on the bench with them. He's shed tears with them. He's talked to them about their future. They love Coach Davis, man, and I know why. He's just a great guy.
Yeah, he really is. Like I said, I got a chance to meet you and Coach Davis at the Mingus Mohave game, and I agree. I've spoken about the Mohave program a few times. I have seen firsthand what you guys are able to accomplish with that team, and I'm excited to see where you guys go from here. Like you said, you got 9 seniors on the roster, so you're going to be looking at a relatively newer team next year. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But Coach, I want to break down a little bit more of those coaching influences. You talk about Lefty Bartow, you talk about Coach Ortiz, Barry Thompson. Are there any other coaching influences, not necessarily directly related to you, but anybody on the outside that you kind of have always been a big fan of?
Yeah, I just love watching the college coaches. I particularly love Tony Gwynn. I know that rest his soul, but I got to meet him. My son was best friends with his son, Tony Jr., and I got to meet Tony. I got to talk to him a little bit. And he's just a chocolate guy, man. And I never watched him coach too much. Personally, just go to San Diego State games. A guy from Utah, I can't think of his name, but he was a real same guy, real jovial, like playing around with the guys, making sure that they all know we're on the same level. And so those two guys, Tony Gwynn was my favorite, I think. Not just as a player, he was the batsman, man. That guy could hit,
Yeah. That's
where we struggle with this team here is we have a good 950 something defensive percentage. I got guys hitting 577, 2. The other ones are hitting 100. We're like, we can't hit a volleyball, dude. I've tried everything. I've tried wiffle balls. I've tried tees. Jeff has done a clinic on it. So sometimes at this age, you're not buying into it. They're just not going to hit, So we take our lumps, dude.
Well, Coach, you talk about some of those struggles up at the plate. Yeah, obviously Mohave, you guys are in a transition period. You're a new head coach this season with the program, not a new head coach in general, but with the program. But it sounds like you've been able to instill a lot of confidence in your guys, despite, some of the guys struggling a little bit more at the plate. So I want to ask, if you have any advice for any young coaches who are trying to get guys to buy in, who are trying to get guys to understand that you're instilling confidence and not, criticizing. How do you do that? How do you get these guys to understand that you're just instilling that confidence into them, that they can achieve things?
Well, it all depends. It's really, I've got 3 young men here. I won't mention names that were like really hot-headed and just not wanting to be coachable, but they became coachable because I had one-on-ones with them. So I made sure these guys know that I'm no better than they are. I was on the same level as they were at one time,
Right.
And just listen to me. I know a lot about baseball. Doesn't make me a great coach, but teaching is what it's all about. Try to teach each aspect of the game. Fundamentally is my biggest thing is fundamentals, man. You can win thousands of games just fundamentally,
Yeah.
So, obviously I need to get a hitting coach in here because I'm not doing I have to laugh it off. These guys come off the field, they'll be down. I'm not kidding. We've been down 14-0, man, and they don't quit, man. They come off the field laughing and they tap each other on the shoulder. This is the transition that we've seen here. I've had my AD tell me, everybody tell me, man, I've seen great transition here. But they come off the field laughing, man. It's hey, we're down. One of my top players who just signed for Iowa, River Borland, man. This kid's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
But I have several. Devin McDaniels. I wish I can get this kid a scholarship. This kid is amazing. He's hitting like 577, man. And
wow,
he's a coach on the field. This kid is amazing. He's a 18-year-old with a 25-year-old mentality.
Well, it sounds like you found your hitting coach then, Coach.
I told him to come back, man. I told him, I said, change your life career and come back and coach here, man. So he laughed.
Well, maybe you will. Maybe you will.
I'm trying to get him looked at right now. I'm on that college campus lookout thing. We're trying to get some guys to look at him, but he's a coachable kid, man. But these kids come off laughing now. We were down 9-0 and Borland says, we can do it. We've been down 9 before. So the thing of it is they find some humor in it. They don't give up. They love each other, and that's what we transformed into. So they are laughing about the 0-8 streak. No one can beat us because we're 0-8. So it's kind of funny, you know. But
well, what's great, Coach, is they're in high spirits about it, which just speaks more to what you and Coach Davis have been able to accomplish, because these kids see this mountain that they have to climb, around like the third or fourth inning, and they're not worried about the task in front of them. That's how you build a championship team, in my opinion, is you get these guys. They've seen the lowest of the lows, and they know that they can overcome them, so that when they get to that point, Coach, where Mohave is back in the mix in the 4A Grand Canyon region, which will happen very soon, then they've understood that really the mountain is not that high if you just look at it from a different angle.
Yeah, we've lost games ridiculously. We were ahead up there where you are, Mingus. We were ahead going to the 9th inning. That number 22 you have there, that kid is so amazing. I was like a second away from telling Coach Davis, I think we should just walk this kid, because he got a triple earlier, a double earlier. We're up by 2, and he hits a freaking in the park home run. You know what I mean? So
that would if memory serves me correct, number 22 is Jan Alvarez for the Mingus Union Marauders, senior shortstop.
He's amazing, dude. That guy's amazing.
Yeah, he's very good. Again, we were speaking with Mohave High School baseball coach Dale Bauer. This is Coach Bauer's first year with the Mohave Thunderbirds. He took over the program for Coach Rex Rodinger after last season. Coach, let's talk about the program. You mentioned a couple names in River Borland. Who else has been really standing out for you this year?
Riley, my catcher, Riley, he's amazing. He just broke his finger in 2 places last Thursday, so he's done for the season, looks like. But he's a junior that's going to go places. He's solid behind the fence, and he's just good. He's a good kid, man. He's coachable. Our little third baseman, Mikey, he's a different breed, man. This kid's always 180%. You can't slow him down, man. Everybody has one. This kid is amazing, but you can't slow him down. You have to calm him down, because he's always wanting to. He's a Pete Rose, dude. He'll run out a walk. He'll run to first base. He'll steal second without even giving him the sign. I just let him be who he is, man.
Yeah.
Everybody goes, Coach, what happened to Mikey? I just said, he's Mikey, man. Leave him alone. So,
he's on second base. That's what's going on with Mikey. He's still second.
Amazing. He's amazing. Yeah. And I got some young kids coming up.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the JV program next. Yes.
Yeah, Alex Cruz is his name. I kept him on just because he knows the program real well. These kids love him. And if I think that he'd be in my position today if he didn't have some health problems. So I do pray for Alex all the time. But, man, these kids love him. And I told him one thing we can't do is we can't have 2 different practice philosophies. You have to practice the same way we do.
Right.
And I call it running on my field.
Okay.
He preaches the same thing. You cross that line. I said, no one walks on my field.
Yeah.
So that's my field.
Yeah.
And that's how I preach it. That's my field. Nobody walks on my field. So we have the same philosophy. I had him since October doing involves. We had a few kids come out. So I kind of told him what I want to bring to the program, and he bought into it, man. I will tell you, Coach Cruz is he's a team dude, man. He bought right into what I was trying to sell, and not one time's talked behind my back. Not one time has tried to upset the apple cart. He's right along, man.
Yeah,
I love him. He's great.
Well, I mean, like I said, Coach, you've got such a strong staff. Along with you and Coach Davis, you mentioned Coach Cruz. You guys are getting ready for matchups here against Bradshaw Mountain. We're talking to Coach Bauer just a little bit before those matchups get kicked off. But how you feeling going against the Bears, Coach, for the first time in your career at Mohave?
Yeah, well, I heard some stories about them that we've never beaten them. That's what I've been told. We were talking about it last night, and they're like 9-0 or something, and they got like 2 no-hitters going. And I told these young men, we're going to battle. Yeah. So leave the battle that we just fought and lost behind. We got to go to this new one here. And we're going to get off that bus with an attitude that here we come. If we don't get off that bus like here we come, then you don't even bring your bag Saturday morning. Just stay home. If you don't have that mentality, don't come. Everything that happened last week when we got beat, we were ahead 6-2 and got beat 8-6. If you take that on that bus, you're on the wrong team. You got to have Jeff Davis preaches forgetness. You got to forget everything. Amnesia. He always says amnesia. You got to have amnesia. He preaches it all the time. Amnesia, man, amnesia. And you got to have amnesia. But so we're going to go up there and we're going to give him a game, man. I'm going to throw River, and he throws high 80s, 90, 93, man. But we're going to let him go at it and see what we can do, man.
Coach, you got a
we're
chance.
Excited.
Yeah, I hear the excitement. I'm excited to see how you guys end up against Bradshaw, especially with the mentality you're talking about.
Yeah.
You've got a chance to see Prescott. Obviously, you've seen Mingus Union. I believe you guys have taken on Lee Williams and Coco already as well.
In tournaments, we've beaten them in tournaments.
Well, just more so, what is your assessment of the region so far this year, Coach, in your first year?
Well, this is my first time in Arizona baseball high school.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of talent here.
Yeah.
A lot of talent here. I came from New Mexico, where good talent in New Mexico, but the schools are smaller. They travel like they do here, but the kids here can play year round, they like Cali the same way in Cali, there's no excuse for not playing year round. But one thing I will say is next year we're going to hit the weight room.
Okay.
I stayed away from the weight room this year. I've had different teams come out better on the weight room, and some it didn't. So next year, I think I have a small group coming up next year. They're tiny, man. I don't know. They're all like 5'1", or I don't know what they have. I was looking at them yesterday, like, man, I got some short dudes coming up, man.
Just play some small ball, Coach.
Oh man, I'm a small ball guy. I have a kid who came up. His name is Chase, man. And I told him when he's only a sophomore, I said, you come up, I'll make you a bunt specialist. And he gets on every time, man. I bunt the heck out of this kid. I don't think he's ever swung the bat. I bunt him all the time. But he's fast. This kid's fast. He's coachable. I said, listen, sometimes if you go in a slump, man, you got to bunt your way out of it, Yeah. And so these kids don't buy it. Some of these guys don't buy into it, but I tell them all the time, you're in a slump, you got to try something. You're hitting 1.11, man. It's time to put some bat on ball, buddy.
Well, Coach Bauer, I got one last question for you before we let you go. Obviously, you've seen the game of baseball change since you were a player up until now, since you've been a coach. I want to ask, where do you think the future of baseball will be? Will it be in, sort of what we're seeing with the Shohei Ohtanis and your two-way players? Are we seeing that more? Will we see more of the home run ball? Will there be more of a fixation on fundamentals now that a lot of guys who are taking that approach of the home run swing are starting to strike out a lot more? Guys like Joey Gallo, Cody Bellinger. Where do you think the game of baseball is going to move to next? Well,
I always thought it was going to go towards stronger pitching. I always thought it was going to go there, but after watching Tatis play, he's a big dude, man.
Yeah,
he's 6'6" or 6 something like that. I'm a Padre guy, so
I'm a Dodger guy, so I'm familiar.
Yeah, I wear these kids. I won't let them wear anything Dodger in my practice. I give a kid a Padre hat just to mess with him one day.
I'm sure you got a lot of Diamondbacks fans you got to sort through, right?
Yeah, they don't have a whole lot here. Everybody's Dodgers here. A lot of Dodger. These kids are Dodger blue, dude.
I guess more where you're at. You're closer to California than you are to like the Phoenix area. So that would make a little more sense.
3 hours from LA or something. I don't know what it is, but shoot, man. But yeah, I think that the kids are getting bigger. Baseball's getting bigger. The power is strictly there. I've never seen a shortstop 6'6". I mean, Tatis can do it all, dude. But baseball's getting bigger. I think the pitchers they're all averaging high 90s now, man. Now we got more guys hitting 100 than you've ever had in your life. It used to be like Richards. Remember Richards? What was his name?
Garrett Richards, right? Or no?
Richards from the Houston Astros back in the 70s. He was the first guy to hit a triple digits, and then he had J.R. Richards. Do you remember that guy?
I don't.
Houston Astros. He hit 101 one time. First guy ever. He was pitching the same year as Nolan Ryan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what I try to do too here is I try to teach them something baseball every day.
Yeah, you gave me a factoid that I didn't know. Before we really let you go, Coach.
Mississippi mud.
Exactly. Telling me that all the baseballs for the MLB, this is a true fact, you can look it up, are rubbed with Mississippi mud, this mud from some swamp in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And every baseball is rubbed with that mud. And Coach Coach Bauer, real quick, if you want to just throw that story out there just so people understand the context.
Back in the late 1800s when baseball got cranking in 1900s, they noticed that the cowhide was real slippery. They had no other solutions, and a guy went down to the Mississippi River and dished his ball in the mud there, rubbed it up real good, and he realized, well, this is good. So he passed it on, and the commission got together years later and said, well, all these ball boys now, they'll get a container of Mississippi mud, and every ball boy will mark up. I mean, they'll rub out 3 dozen balls for the games. And then when you see these guys, catchers, throwing the ball away, some of these fans go, God, they waste so many balls, but they're being dipped back in the bucket again. They're going back out. So it's kind of funny, but a little history. They didn't even know who Pete Rose was, dude.
You told me that. I'm of course I'm 26, so I've got a generational gap myself too. But through collecting baseball cards, I've learned so much more about random baseball players. And of course, my mom being a baseball purist herself, she told me about Pete Rose, one of her favorite players of all time.
Yeah, me too,
but
man.
You're right. There's a little bit of a gap there. But Coach Bauer, you're a wealth of knowledge, sir. I appreciate you coming on the show to talk about the changes you made at Mohave High School. We're very excited to see where the Thunderbird baseball program goes from here. I look forward to talking with you and Coach Davis very soon. And I thank you again for your time.
You're a total blessing, brother. I tell you. Thank you very much.
Of course, sir. We're going to end the show. Thank you again to Coach Bauer and all our guests this week. I'm Philip Catalfamo, wishing you a great rest of your week. We'll see you next time.